Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are and whatever time of day you're watching. Here we are again on KitPlus TV, where we bring you our 4 workflow guests, industry news, Dick chatting with an inspirational industry leader, and Alister continues his tech advice.
So yes, our workflow guests this week are Marc from Fujifilm, who is here to talk about the latest update to GFX100, which now gives it the ability to output RAW video. Andreas from Lawo discusses their mixed kitchen, which allows remote control possibilities from home. Benedict from Gunter & Drunk talks through their new remote access CPU. And finally, Marc from Switch Media is discussing OTT revenues and subscribers, with his words, COVID-19 pouring petrol on a fire that was already burning.
Our TV Future student this week features Giorgio, who is talking us through a project focused around his grandfather's battle with dementia. And later in the show, Alister Chapman continues his tech series. So what are you looking at today, Alister?
Today I'm going to be looking at gamma curves. What are gamma curves? How do you pick one? How do you use them?
Sounds like one to watch. Never really got the gamma thing, but I was always told never to be afraid to ask a question. Hopefully, Alister's series will be helping to demystify many of the questions we all have and may have been afraid to ask in the past. Before all that, let's go over to Dick and find out who's joining him today.
Yes, today I'm going to be talking about getting the best people into the best jobs in our industry. I'm very excited to be talking to Ade Rawcliffe, who is Director of Creative Diversity at ITV.
Thanks, Dick. Essential viewing, I would say. We'll come straight back to you after TV Futures.
Hi, my name is Giorgio Cavacciuti. I study television and broadcasting at the University of Portsmouth. The project I'd like to talk about today was a short documentary that I made in my 3rd year called Pino. It's about my grandfather, Pino Cavacciuti, and about his battle with dementia and how it basically affected his family. The process of making the documentary was very interesting for me. It was very different to what I usually do. Usually on the course we make magazine-style shows, or we make VTs for those magazine-style shows. But this was the first piece of content on the course that we made where it was standalone and it basically was its own thing and it didn't have to connect to any larger basis, any larger branding. And I really enjoyed kind of coming up with the initial idea and then developing that idea with my team. Another point that I found really interesting in production was that in magazines, shows, and in VTs, you kind of know what sort of like message you want to get across and what the point is. However, in the documentary, you kind of come up with a vague idea of like, this is what the documentary will be about. And then in the process of making it, you kind of find threads and like find different ideas, and then you kind of like weave the story out of that. And I thought that was a really interesting way to make content. I thought it was something new and something quite exciting that I wasn't really expecting when I began. But when you're in the middle of making it, it just works. And I really enjoyed making that. Hopefully in the future, I will be able to make more content similar to the documentary and try new ways of making content and just kind of basically expanding my own skill base and developing my skills more. I'd also be interested to see how my professional skills are in a work environment, because even though I've used a lot of them at university, I think it'd be interesting to see how that transitions to the real world. Currently, I'm working on 2 short corporate videos. One of them is a 5-minute infographic, and I'm really enjoying working on this project because it's allowing me to stretch some like creative muscles that I haven't used before. For instance, I'm doing a lot of animation for this project, and I think it's really interesting to kind of develop that skill because it's always been something I'm interested in. The second video I'm making is slightly shorter, but I'm also using a lot of After Effects for that as well. And I'm really excited to see how these videos turn out. Thank you.
Thanks, Giorgio. Sounds like a fascinating project with many learning curves in there for sure. Now, if you'd like to help the industry's next generation on their way by mentoring, work experience, or even a job, then do get in touch. And talking about curves, do stay tuned for Alister Chapman's Gamma Curve session later in the show.
Compliance logging and analysis is one of those hidden elements of the industry that we often take for granted, and Media Proxy, who have supported KitPlus TV since we started, is the global leader in this area. They've over 20 years in the industry with 15,000 channels deployed in over 60 countries and are the trusted partner in the industry for logging, monitoring and analysis of linear broadcast and OTT.
We've told you before and we'll be testing you on it later, but did you know their leading edge product Log Server is the only solution to fully support SMPTE 2022-6 and SMPTE 2110 sources, record and monitor uncompressed IP sources including multiple audio tracks, SCSI messages and subtitles at a high scale on commodity hardware and even across virtual environments.
And of course, it goes without saying that if you're looking to replace your Volucon system, team up with the global leader in compliance. For more information, please check out their website. So now let's hand back to Dick.
Today I'm really excited to be talking to Ade Rawcliffe, who is Director of Creative Diversity at ITV, the UK's largest commercial broadcaster. So Ade, first of all, tell us about yourself. Give us a brief introduction to you.
Okay, so hello, thank you for having me. My name is Ade Rawcliffe. As you just said, my job title is Director of Creative Diversity at ITV, and my job is to drive representation of all groups, both on screen, in terms of who's in front of the camera, but also in terms of who's making what's behind the camera, and also in terms of our production teams. And my background, brief history, is I worked doing a similar role for about 10 years at Channel 4, did things like the Paralympics, both in London and Rio. And before that, I was a producer and I made programs like The Big Breakfast and Big Brother and This Morning and things like that.
Sure, great. So if we weren't talking about COVID-19 all the time, I think we'd all be talking diversity, especially just at the moment with the George Floyd thing and the Black Lives Matter coming to the fore. I guess we can be slightly, that can slightly skew our view of diversity. But so how would you define diversity and why is it important?
I mean, I think what we talk about a lot at ITV is that what we're trying to do is normalise television so that television looks like the world we all live in. I think it's more important than ever that television reflects the lives and experiences of people. I think we should all be able to see ourselves represented on screen. And what it means, it's about including everybody. And I think in this increasingly competitive market, when you have Netflix, when you have Amazon, I think more than ever, to be a commercially successful broadcaster, you have to reflect the changing nature of Britain. And so that's what it means to me. I mean, in terms of our focus, what we focus on is areas where there's underrepresentation. So we have statistical analysis, which will tell us that, in some areas, people of colour are underrepresented. In most areas in television, people with disabilities are underrepresented. And in some areas, even directing, you find that we don't have enough women directing. So what we're about is underrepresentation and how we make representation accurately look like the world we all live in.
So that, I think, is a really important point, that it's about making our industry represent the country.
Yeah, and our viewers. I mean, one of the things I always say is that I'm not trying to make people make their programs worse. I honestly believe that by including more people and having different ideas and different perspectives, you get better content. And that's what we're all about. We want to be the most creative and the most successful organisation we can be. And we really believe that diversity and inclusion is a really important element of doing that.
So it's not just about creating opportunities for disabled or BAME people, it's about improving the output.
Yeah, I mean, it's about by creating opportunities, you will improve the output. Is what I really, really strongly believe. So it's the right thing to do, and we should do it because it's the right thing to do. But also, it gives us a creative and a competitive advantage when we get it right. So it's an exciting opportunity. And what I would say is that even though my role is Director of Creative Diversity, clearly I am one person in an organisation. So one of the things that I say all the time at ITV, and I would encourage people listening to this, is that it's what can you do? What can you do to make the difference? What can you do to give someone an opportunity? What can you do to broaden the base from which you recruit from? Because I think one of the challenges in our industry is that historically we haven't had open enough recruitment processes. So for example, now all ITV jobs are advertised and all internships are paid. And I think things like that help to increase the talent pool from which we can all recruit from.
Yeah, that's also interesting that television as an industry has always been slightly down to who you know.
Yeah.
So now we're looking to make it open and free.
Open and sort of. I mean, also it's just this thing. I mean, another thing I always say is that, you know, why would you fish in a puzzle when you can fish in an ocean? The broader you look for talent, the more variety you're going to get, and the better talent you're going to get. So I always say to people, you've got to broaden where you look for talent and go out and say to different groups, look, we are open and we are interested in you.
Ade and I continued talking for quite a while. You can see the whole interview by following the link here. But for now, back to the studio.
And now the first workflow section, capture and produce, starting with Ikegami announcing a new addition to its range of broadcast cameras. The UHL F4000 is a compact, lightweight 4K HDR camera with very low power consumption. It's designed for use in applications such as aerial video capture and studio robotics.
Miller Camera Support has announced the Arrow X1. This will be the entry-level head into the Arrow X range, delivering 16 kilograms capacity, 5 positions of pan and tilt drag, not including nil, 16 positions of counterbalance with CB+, a unique design that allows fast and efficient re-rigging.
And Canon has officially unveiled the EOS R5. The R5 is the first full-frame mirrorless camera to record 8K RAW up to 29.97 frames per second internally and 4K up to 120 frames per second. In addition to EOS R5, Canon has also announced the new EOS R6, capable of shooting UHD up to 59.94 frames per second and HD up to 119.98 frames per second in 422 10-bit internally.
And now it's time for our first guest. So welcome to the show, Marc Cattrall from Fujifilm. You're here to talk about a new camera, the GFX100, right. And it begs the question, what is a medium format stills camera doing on a broadcast and video show such as this?
Well, essentially, this week we launched a firmware update for the GFX100 that had many feature improvements, but the one that makes it relevant to this audience is that now it has the ability to output RAW video.
So Mark, lots of cameras shoot RAW these days. What's so significant about the GFX 100?
The significance really is that the GFX 100 is a medium format camera. It has a 102 megapixel medium format sensor that's about 44 by 33 millimeters in size. So when you crop it to 16 by 9 shooting format, it's enormous. It's like a 50 point something diameter sensor. So when you compare that to like the Red Monstro, which is the largest large format cinema camera sensor on the market, it kind of sits in this otherwise uncharted land, sort of between 65mm Alexa, which is a rental only product, and then your existing large format cameras.
That's great. So what other specs are relevant, for example, frame rates?
Well, it shoots 16 by 9 UHD 4K, and you can choose 24, 25 or 29.97p. It does also have a 17 by 9 DCI 4K, but currently that doesn't support RAW output.
So we're talking about RAW files here. What can we actually do with these RAW files?
Honestly, not a lot yet. However, Atomos also announced that they are going to release a firmware. So we've been working with Atomos. They're going to release a firmware update for the Ninja 5 that will then capture and encode the RAW video from the GFX 100, and it will then encode it and save it as a 12-bit Apple ProRes RAW file, which will then be available sometime in July this year.
So I guess ultimately the question that people are going to be asking is, how does it look?
Well, we've got some test footage that was shot by Jake Polonsky at BSC, who's a friend of Fuji, has been using our cameras and also our cinema lenses in his work for a while. He used the camera for a very short while, using a beta version of the Ninja 5 firmware. And then within that kind of test shooting that he did, there's a variety of different shots in there that really show off what a large sensor, as large a sensor as this, is capable of doing.
Thanks, Mark. So we've obviously talked about recording externally, but what options do we have to record internal? For example, can we record internal 4K as well?
It does, yeah. As far as I'm aware, it might be the only camera on the market at the moment that can do this. But yes, you can output 4K RAW via HDMI, and you can also record 4K F-Log or hybrid log gamma to the internal memory at the same time simultaneously.
That's great. And if you want to find out more about RAW, then don't forget to check out Alister Chapman's technical tips in a previous show. In the meantime, Marc, thank you very much for joining us here on KitPlus TV.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
And our second workflow section is Manipulate and Edit. And we start with some news for our US viewers. Middle Atlantic Products have announced the new LundHalsey Vision Line 24/7 control room consoles. Vision Line features the same stylish, ergonomic design and durability introduced in LundHalsey's Premier control family, but in a smaller footprint and in straight, concave and convex options to fit any control room of any size.
And hot on the heels of the launch of DejaEdit 3, and in response to client request, DejaSoft announces the release of version 3.1 to support private cloud environments using the open source Min.io object storage solution. DejaEdit allows multiple remote Avid editors to work together by mirroring their locally stored media and edit assets to the local storage of other connected systems using secure background transfers across the internet.
So now we'd like to welcome Andreas Hilmer from Lawo into the studio. Andreas, you've been running weekly Lawo Lounge webinars, and you've mentioned the Mix Kitchen, which is what got our attention. Can you tell us more about this solution and what Lawo are doing to help audio engineers produce and mix their live content remotely?
Yeah, thanks for having me here. I mean, in a nutshell, it's an inexpensive solution to basically remote control any MC² based audio production facility from home, like from your kitchen, as it is mentioned in the name, Mix Kitchen. Obviously, we provided this type of solutions also on a very large scale, not having an endemic and pandemic in mind, but like for remote production solutions or customers like NEP in Australia, where it is about distributed productions. But obviously, under the given circumstances, this helped our customers also to be or remain on air with the difficulties of social distancing and all of that. And so on top of that, we intended to provide a solution which does not need to have a full-blown MC² console at the remote location, but to have an inexpensive way to still remote control an MC² based installation which is in the studio from your home. So basically it is about taking off-the-shelf cheap ingredients like Huey, Mackie Huey compatible fader base, a little bit of adjustment in the MX GUI software, which would then run on your computer screen, and hook that up via VPN connection back to the studio, and off you go.
Cool. So obviously, Andreas, no one wants to compromise on sacrificing sound or video quality. How are you ensuring this is possible with the remote solution?
That's actually a nice trick that we took. So at the end of the day, it's really easy. So we don't transport all the signals from the studio to home and then you mix there, but we only transport the control and the monitoring. So all mission critical TX audio just remains within the facility's infrastructure, which means that the audio production from the remote results with the same pristine audio quality as if it was mixed on site.
Cool.
So have you noticed a sort of an accelerating in take-up because of our current situation?
Definitely. I mean, even before, remote production was already like one of the buzzwords you were hearing everywhere.
Yeah.
But now it just got a different twist. So now it's not just about reducing travel cost and all of that, but now it is just about enabling production with obeying the rules for social distancing and such. So we are having customers where the engineers are just not allowed to enter the facility, and this allows them to basically continue with the same quality of program output as if there was nothing.
And Andreas, are you continuing your Lawo Lounge webinars going forwards?
Yeah, definitely. So before the summer break, we will have probably about 4 more to come. So every Wednesday for the Europeans, 2 o'clock in the afternoon and 8 o'clock in the evening, or for my UK perspective, that's 1 o'clock and 7 o'clock.
Yeah.
If I did the math right.
So they can watch the KitPlus show on Tuesday and they can tune into Lawo on Wednesday. Sounds perfect.
Yeah, that's like the perfect week of webinars. Join me on the Tuesday, Wednesday with Lawo, and on the Thursday we always do a more technical thing. It's called How To. So there we deep dive into one aspect of one of our products to give a little bit more insight into what to do and to come to a solution.
Excellent. We'll stick a link on screen now, Andreas, where people can find those Lawo Lounge webinars. And yeah, thank you very much for coming on KitPlus TV.
Thanks a lot for the opportunity. Hope to see you all in real and live and healthy again very shortly.
Let's hope so.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, this week's Digital Nirvana have announced the launch of Media Services IQ, a comprehensive suite of cloud-based microservices that leverage advanced AI and machine learning capabilities to streamline media production, post-production and distribution workflows, providing a comprehensive one-stop portal to access Digital Nirvana's range of AI-powered solutions.
And Object Matrix, who we saw in the show last week, have launched Matrix Store Cloud. This is a managed service cloud storage platform that enables creative and production teams to self-serve access to content from work or remotely from anywhere. It also comes with intuitive media-focused interfaces that make protecting, finding and sharing content easier than ever. And now we'd like to welcome our next guest in the studio. We have Benedict Hartmann from Guntermann & Dronk. Welcome to KitPlus TV, Benedict. We've seen you've got a new product, your remote access CPU. Can you tell us a little more bit about that, please?
Yes, that is true. Thank you very much for having me on your show today. And as you mentioned, today it's all about our brand new remote access CPU. But how does KVM work in general? At first, you connect your video, keyboard and mouse signals from your computer to the GND CPU module. Then the signals are transmitted via copper or fiber to the console module, where you connect your keyboard, mouse and display from your workplace. So you have a clean desk without a computer next to your legs and no noisy fans on your desk. And by using a KVM matrix system, it's now possible to switch between the different CPUs on the user side. And because we are continuously enhancing the user experience, users are able to control multiple consoles with only one keyboard and mouse. Let's say this is the classic KVM business. But over the last years, we saw the growth in the cloud computing and virtualization market. We are convinced that in most cases, physical hardware will continue to play an important role, but it can be also supplemented by virtual machines and remote computers. So the question was, how can we connect these two worlds? And well, the answer is with our new remote access CPU. Our KVM world handles this CPU as a gateway from network protocols to the GND KVM system. So it's possible to access an unlimited amount of remote targets via network protocols like RDP, VNC, and SSH. You can access them directly as you would access a physical computer.
So I understand that, and obviously we're talking about connecting to virtual sources. Is there a limit to the number of virtual machines that the KVM system can be connected to?
Oh, that's a good point. And in fact, there is no limit. The good thing is even that in hybrid system, you can benefit from all matrix functionalities, hands-on KVM functions and great control features that you may already know from classic GND systems. The created sessions with the remote access CPU behave like normal CPUs. They appear in the target list on your on-screen display, and you can assign them to users with our great access management system. We also support GND's cross-display switching, and everything is API capable. So you can control your KVM world with a third-party device. And the remote sessions can be operated with 2K video resolution and support USB HID as well as embedded audio.
So with this solution, you can have more than one employee, more than one colleague, so to speak, working on one RDP session at the same time.
Good question. Well, that's often a problem, we think. And that's another advantage of the remote access CPU from GND. We're able to provide multi-access for RDP sessions. If we weren't able to provide it, it would like user 1 connects to a PC, then user 2 comes also to the same PC, and the screen of user 1 turns dark. Not the best user experience, we think. And since our session is opened with a remote access CPU, we have the ability for multiple consoles to access the same RDP session with the same account. And I think this makes your entire team even more productive.
And do you need a separate thin client for such an installation, Benedict?
Oh, no, you don't. Everything is packed in this small device, and it's equipped with a powerful, reliable, and industrial board, and offers a platform with integrated thin client functionality. Therefore, you don't need a separate thin client.
Is there anywhere that, where should we go? Especially, with a lot of our audience being UK, so that as well, but worldwide and in the UK, where can people go to find out more information and learn a bit more?
Yes, you can get all these missing informations from gdsys.de, and of course, you can contact our sales team, which is also waiting for you.
Yeah.
Benedict, that's great. Well, thank you for coming on to KitPlus TV. It's great to catch up with everything that's going on at Guntermunter Drunk, especially as we missed each other at NAB and probably will do now, of course, at IBC. So thank you guys coming on the show. Much appreciated.
Thank you very much and stay safe.
And now onto the final workflow section, Move and Deliver. We have a bit more US news. Group 1 Limited has announced that it's incorporated SCI's operations of Colourec business to create a nationwide distribution network for Colorec's complete range of solutions. Based in Manhattan, SCI has been handling the distribution of Colorec's products across the Northeast and Midwest region, and Group 1 handle the rest of the country. This brings it all under the Audiotonics group of companies, including Digico, SSL, Colorec and Klang.
Good news for SES. BBC Studios and its subsidiary UK TV have selected them to manage the playout and distribution of over 50 linear channels and their associated video on demand services. These services will be based on SES's European Global Delivery Services with technical playout infrastructure provided from their new Stockley Park facility in London, with their Munich playout facility overseeing operational management.
And good news for all of you. Peli Products has announced a new edition of its legendary international photo contest for creative amateurs and professionals. This will be the 15th anniversary of the contest, and there will be 3 gold and 3 silver prizes. Just Google Peli International Photo Contest to find out more.
And now we welcome Mark Johns from Switch Media, coming to us from Sydney in Australia. Mark, welcome to KitPlus TV. Now, the current situation we all find ourselves in is, of course, affecting the OTT market. How do you think people are adapting and changing to this?
Well, COVID-19 has rapidly accelerated many industries. It's poured petrol on the fire that was already burning in some senses. And the market was already seeing rapid changes, and traditional broadcasters were losing some revenue as the viewers moved to online services. So with social distancing restrictions in place in many parts of the world still, there's been an increase in online consumption. Companies obviously like Netflix and Disney Plus have added massively to their subscriber numbers in the first quarter of this year. So many companies are reporting large declines in advertising revenue, in such cases maybe 40% in some cases here in Australia especially, which is double that of the financial crisis of 2008. So it's pretty obviously significant.
Yeah, wow.
There is an expectation, though, in the market that advertising will make a sharp turn and come back during July and August. So the impact, obviously, on sport disappearing from our televisions will be felt by some time to come for those that rely on those rights.
And so, what is, with all this going on, are you, as Switch Media, doing anything in particular to assist these media companies with revenues now and for the future?
Yeah, so we're focused on reducing complexity. So OTT can be complex, and complexity doesn't always start on day one, regardless of the best intentions, especially when it comes to device fragmentation. So users are more demanding than ever, and have had their expectations set especially high by those online services. So at a time like this, it allows companies to review their operations, focus on what gives them the most value, and reducing complexity and enabling change can help those companies pivot more rapidly. OTT services are quite similar generally in terms of functionality, so there's no need to keep reinventing the wheel. So what we focus on is driving value for our customers. With the current growth and the general growing demand for online video, we need to provide high quality, cost effective, and more importantly, or as importantly, fast to market solutions, which is why last year we launched Media HQ Lite. So that is a proven platform that gives a comprehensive feature set at an affordable price that really reduces the time to market, because it's a product that's been launched time and time again.
And how are advertisers being affected, and how important is something like dynamic ad insertion these days?
Well, large amounts of advertising budgets have been slashed, not because the viewers aren't there, they obviously are, but because the products and services that are being advertised, such as travel or events or sports, have all obviously been cancelled. So everything is changing, even how we eat. There's some fizzy drink brands that are down 50%. So what we all thought before is no longer certain. So DAI can help with that. It's important because it's targeted, and it's a seamless experience with rapid feedback and reporting. So it gives those advertisers insights on how the consumers are reacting and consuming their particular message. So DAI, especially with return to sports, will help broadcasters maximize the revenue with online ad replacement using things like SSAI. So Media HQ Lite is something that we use to enable all of those things.
Marc, that's great. Thank you for joining us from the other side of the world. It's a real pleasure having you with us on the show.
After last week's show, I'm sure we're all a lot wiser in terms of what RAW means and the benefits we can expect from it. If you missed the show, of course, that's what Alister Chapman was talking about in his first series of tech tips, and you can catch up with RAW on the link below. Let's go over to Alister now for this week's dose of knowledge.
Thanks, Simon. So, gamma curves. What are gamma curves? Why do we even need them? And what can they do for you? And then how do you choose one? This is one of those subjects I think that a lot of people are quite afraid of because it sounds highly technical, but it's not really something to be afraid of. So the first thing, what is a gamma curve? Well, a gamma curve is simply a mathematical calculation that's used in a video camera to allow the camera to capture the scene that you're shooting in a way that will then be able to be shown correctly on a TV set. And one of the things to consider about that is when you're shooting, you might be shooting outside on a bright sunny day, but that TV set that your viewer is going to be watching your content on might be in a dark room in the evening. So we need to do a little bit of adjustment between what we capture and then how it's shown on the TV, so that when you watch it in that dark viewing environment, it looks okay. Now there's lots and lots of different gamma curves. Now one term that you may hear used very often is Rec 709. So Rec 709 is the gamma and colour standard for HD television, the television that most of us are using today. So if your camera has a Rec 709 gamma curve in it, it will look fine on an ordinary TV and you shouldn't have any problems. But does that mean that you've got to always use Rec 709 to shoot? Well, actually, no, it doesn't. What you do need to do though is to shoot in such a way that what you record is compatible with a Rec 709 TV. And let's just have something to think about there for a moment. If you shoot on a video camera, and I'm sure some of you may have shot with cameras that have log gamma, and then you grade that in post-production so that it looks nice on your monitor in your grading suite, is that Rec 709? Well, arguably it might not be. It will be something else. It will be whatever your look that you've created is. That will be the standard. But because it looks okay on a Rec 709 TV on your standard monitor, that's fine. And that means that you have lots of choices. And most modern cameras these days have many different gamma curves to choose from built in. In the Sony cameras, for example, you often have picture profiles, and there you might find things like cine gammas or hyper gammas. So how do you choose a gamma curve? Is there any science behind it? Well, actually no, very little, because really all that matters is, do you like the way your pictures look on the screen? So frankly, when I choose a gamma curve to shoot with, I simply turn the camera on, point the camera at the scene that I want to shoot, and go through the gamma curve choices that the camera has to find the one that works best for me and gives me the nicest, the prettiest picture. And it really is that simple. It doesn't need to be any more complicated than that. One thing to consider though is that sometimes some of these gamma curves, such as cine gammas, hyper gammas, things like that, they do need to be exposed a little bit darker. So instead of having your skin tones at 70%, you might want to put your skin tones at 60%, and that will give you a more film-like look, and it'll give you a little bit more highlight and headroom for overexposure. So gamma curves, don't be afraid of them. If your camera has various gamma curves that you can choose, do go in there, play with them, mix and match them within the same project if you want. There's nothing that says you have to use the same gamma curve all the way through, and use the one that gives you the nicest picture. And next time I'm going to look at how to choose the right tripod. And with that, back to the studio.
Thanks, Alister. I hope you will join with me in feeling somewhat enlightened now. In terms of next week then, with an often overloaded camera rig at various trade shows, it'll be interesting to hear the advice on choosing the right tripod.
And on the subject of user reviews, then the latest review is in on the ergorig, and you can see this on the link below. Here's a quick snippet.
Hi, I'm Nezzy, and this is my KitPlus review of the Cinema Devices ergorig. So what is the ergorig? Well, it's a chest harness which you can wear to take the weight of a heavy camera off your shoulder. If I put it on, you'll understand. So here's the ergorig on me. There's a waist strap, which tightens here, and a chest strap here. The idea is that the waist strap sits above your hips, and it's tight so it doesn't slip beyond your hips. This one here is just to stop this from sliding side to side. The idea then is that this shoulder pad area is raised just above your shoulder, allowing your arm and shoulder to be completely free, so that when the camera's on here, the weight of the camera is actually going down through these struts into the waist strap and resting on your hips and going down through your legs instead of being on your shoulder and going through your spine. As you can see, this is my f5 camera with a Fujinon X-K6.
Looks good. And to see the full review clip, just follow the link on the screen now. And we are, of course, still offering £100 for any user reviews we use. So check out kitplus.com/reviews for all the information about creating one and sending it in.
We hope you've enjoyed the show, and we'll see you virtually next Tuesday with more workflow guests, Dick's interview, industry news, and technical insight from Alister. Cheerio.